Welcome, welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you, thank you. Ooh, we have plenty of participants coming on. Sheilah, you must be popular. Michael, you must be popular too.
I'm seeing some names of folks I really like here. I wonder if they're those actual people, Scott Kohler and Alex and Jalika. And I wonder if that Oren is Oren Zucker. I don't know.
Oh my goodness. Well, we hope that all these are real people and not bots.
Yes, there's a lot of Russian bot activity in the air these days. Scott Kohler, how are you, man?
I'm good. I'm going to take my camera off and mute this because I'm also making dinner while I attend this.
Fantastic.
I hope it's a yummy dinner.
I'm hoping so too, or else somebody's going to be mad besides me.
Great to see you. Hey, Alex.
Hi, how
Howdy.
you doing?
Wonderful. Much better seeing you. That's great.
Yeah,
Still in the Boston, greater Boston area?
yep, I'm in Cambridge.
I've heard about it.
Yep. Hope you're doing well too.
I am, thanks. Is your brother still making that great cartoon?
Yeah, he recently had a kid, so I'm hoping he'll make some kid-themed cartoons soon.
Wow.
Wow. Excellent.
Well, if our audience remains intimate, I feel like I'll be doing some introductions. Alex Dorn is a former student who's an architect in Cambridge, a real architect in Cambridge, Mass, one of our success stories.
Hello, everybody.
Wow.
Excited
Well,
to doing.
we definitely give you a woo.
Thank you.
Welcome aboard and thank you for stopping in to Stage and Stanza.
Thank you.
Scotty Kohler is my fearless world traveler friend, pandemic be damned. And
he might be a chef too, since he's making dinner.
the most adventurous guy I know these days.
Up, it looks like Cindy is on and maybe she'll be able to come in on mic later. So I'm very excited.
And
Can you hear me?
I don't know if we'll see you later, Jalka, but Jalka's a grad student here at RPI
Good. Cindy, is that you?
Cindy,
in gaming.
you hear me?
I can hear you. Yay.
Yay. Hello. You know, I tell you, I have issues every time I get on Zoom. It's like the curse.
Well, listen, we have audio. Thankfully, Amy asked for a picture. So we have a picture of you and your lovely pooch. So what we're going to do is we're going to have Michael go first. And then we're going to talk to you over audio and still go through everything. So it is not a curse. It is fluidity and the way we pivot here at Stage and Stanza.
That's why you rock.
That's thank you. Thank you. So everybody, I don't know, Amy, is Judy on or?
I don't see her yet. Oh, here she said she's looking for the link.
Oops. Okay.
I think she'll be here any second.
Alex, I see a tail in back of you. What kind of cat?
Yes, she's actually my cat niece, but
Oh,
she's just
very
visiting.
nice. Very nice, very cute. If you saw the pictures, one of course, Michael and the other one of Cindy. Cindy has her very cute dog. And your dog's name, Cindy?
Franklin.
Mr. Franklin. He is a four-legged man of mystery. So
That is an
Cindy will be more than
understatement.
happy to disclose his mystery or not. Or not. So very nice to meet your fine kitty cat. So thank you again, everybody out there. Judy Gilmore of the executive director of Opalka Gallery will be on shortly. but we appreciate you all being patient because we certainly know that Zoom is our friend. So we appreciate you guys taking the time and making time to see our fellow creatives here in the capital region, Recinda Robinson
chatted it
and
to
Michael
you.
Oatman. So we just
Yeah.
admitted Judy. So here she comes. And here she comes, Judy Gilmore, Executive Director of Alpalka Gallery.
Hey, Judy.
Hi guys, sorry I'm not able to join with video today. I'm at home because of
That
the
is
storm.
That is okay, Judy. Unfortunately, Cindy is on audio too, but we hear your lovely voices, so we'd rather have something than zero.
Great
Go
to see
right
you all.
ahead and take it away.
Thanks, Carol. I'm excited to introduce another installment of our Stage and Stanza series, which was created by Carol, our friend Carol Durant, and has been a wonderful way for us to provide some virtual programs during the last couple of years. Every time we plan to go live with one of our events, we're convinced that one more virtual one is in order. So we're hoping that this might be the last one, but they're all really great. They are recorded, and we have a wonderful series that students tune into and that are posted on our YouTube channel and shared by the college. So thank you guys for all being part of that. And tonight we have some really exciting guests and a little bit outside of our normal Stage and Stanza guests, but I'll let Carol let you in on kind of her thinking behind including them. And we're just so excited to hear what they have to say and to hear some of the things they've chosen for readings tonight. So thanks so much for joining.
Thank you, Judy. And Judy, there's plenty of things going on at Alpalka Gallery before you leave. What are they?
Oh, thanks, Carol. We have currently open just on Tuesday, Judith Braun, My Pleasure, which is a solo exhibition of Judith Braun's work. Beautiful, large graphic paintings and wall installations. And they'll be up through April 23rd. And she's actually going to be in the gallery on Saturday, painting live one of the wall drawings from 12 to 4. So it's a great time to stop in if you'd like to meet Judith, talk to her about the work and see her in action. Really an amazing process that she uses to create these wonderful wall drawings with her fingerprints. We have other events all throughout the show, tour with her, as well as a dance performance that was choreographed specifically to respond to Judith's exhibition and the work in the show with Ellen Snopoli Dance Company. So that's in March, and tickets for that are for sale on our website, as well as an actual reception indoors with food on March 4th, the first in 2 years. So we're pretty excited to welcome folks in that way next Friday, March 4th. So that another great time to come by.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Judy. And your number one person, Amy Griffin, who is our tech guru, behind the scenes person. Thank you, Amy. She's out there. She's recording. We are thankful. Thank you so much. And now, Stage and Stanza for you patient people. We are here. I'm Carol Durant, thanking you again profusely for taking time out of your evening to be online with us on Zoom, our friend Zoom. So we're talking about creatives who, our point of view with Stage and Stanza is poetry and theater, but we always like to expand and make sure that we look outside of the box. And even though you might thinking visual artists, architects, professor from RPI, Michael Oatman, we love him. We're talking to him about his creativity, whether he's been on stage, whether he wants to be on stage, whether he's helped people on stage. He's here, and we look forward to talking to him. And Recinda Robinson, makeup artist, stylist, fabulous creative here in the Capital District, whom you may not know, but you need to know, because she is another fantastic human being, creative, who can help you on stage and off. And just so you know, unfortunately, David Baker, professor at the Theater Institute at Sage, unable to be here tonight, but just so happens that we have one of the heavy hitters here in the Capital Region, Ms. Sheilah London, board president of Black Theater Troupe of Upstate New York, who is co-hosting tonight and is going to conduct the interviews. You'll hear me as a voice from the beyond, or you'll see my smiling face. But we look forward to talking to both of them and getting their insight on how their creative pathways affect theater, poetry, and beyond. Thank you very much again. And Sheilah, where are you? You're up.
Well, good evening, everyone. I am just so honored to be here, and thank you again, Carol, for asking me to sit in actually. No, I'm not Michael, but I know Michael very well, and I'm very familiar with this program. I'm just so glad to be here. So I'm going to start right off as asked, and I'm going to stick to the program, and we're going to begin with you tonight, Michael. I'm going to read your biography and ask you a few questions, and you can fill us in, and we can do a little chat thing, and afterwards we'll have a Q&A. So tune in. Okay, Michael Oatman. He calling his practice the poetic interpretation of documents. Oatman has long been drawn to what he terms institutional folklore, the way in which individuals humanize companies, government agencies, policies, and public spaces. Now, growing up in rural Vermont, he was intrigued by the presence of IBM in the town next door. He was born in 1964 in Burlington, Vermont. Michael Oatman earned a BFA from Rhode Island School of Design in 1986 and an MFA from the University of Albany in 1992. He has been teaching and making art for 35 years. Positions at Phillips Academy, University of Vermont, and Harvard led to teaching in the School of Architecture at Rensselaer in 1999. Oatman has produced critical work on eugenics, incarceration, the space race, and other topics concerning paradigm shifts in science, history, human relations, and technology. Prior to their deaths, he collaborated with his parents, Gordon and Shirley Oatman, to fabricate components of his installations. Exhibitions include installations, videos, and large-scale collages at Mass MoCA, the Tang Museum, the Kitchen, the University of Vermont, the University of Wyoming, the Museum of Fine Arts in Boston, and the Cordova and the Aldridge. Oatman was a fellow at Yaddo and artist in resident at Williams College in the year of 2000, and a recipient of the Nancy Graves Foundation Prize in 2003. His Tang Museum retrospective in 2005 was accompanied by the publication A Lifetime of Service and a Mile of Thread. He served as the 80th juror for the 2016 annual Mohawk Hudson Regional presented at the High Collection. Oatman and his students recently collaborated with museum director Ian Barry at the 2018 Living with Duncan exhibition at Tang Museum. He was the first artist involved to work with the astronaut Neil Armstrong's personal library at Purdue University, where the exhibition returned to open in 2019. That's some impressive stuff, Mr. Oatman.
Well, it sounds so much better when you say it. So
You know what? I'm going to just say, first of all, happy 2022. And in the year of this pandemic, I'm not even going to say crisis anymore. I'm not even going to say new normal because it's not new.
Yeah.
But in this, how's the year going for you so far?
You know, personally, it's going well. But as I greeted my students this morning in my Duchamp seminar, I said good morning, and then I stopped and I thought, well, you know, there's a war in Europe today, and for the first time and since the Second World War, a state has attacked another state, and that's just incredibly troubling. But listening to what Carol was saying earlier about remaining positive, I mean, you know, what else can we do? We've gotten plenty of experience in that since this, you know, since this century started. So
Absolutely.
I'm happy to report that I'm in good spirits. I'm really glad to be teaching in person again. I had great experiences with my students like Alex and colleagues in the arts, you know, in teaching in this architecture program. And I'm a little bit of an unusual beast because I'm an artist, untrained in architecture, but I feel like I've had a bit of a secondhand smoke education in architecture over the past 20 years, and you know how long I've been teaching here. So so things are good. How about you? I think your mic's off.
Can you hear me now?
I
Okay, great.
can.
So you actually got your start in visual arts, correct?
Yeah, that's right.
And how did that happen?
Well, in high school, I was like many people. I was a kid who did a lot of drawing. I didn't take any art courses. I taught courses in things like drafting and home economics and, you know, kind of craft oriented things. But I thought that being a graphic designer would continue this hobby of creating posters and working with typography. So but back then you applied to colleges in a different way, and I applied to three
Sure.
different schools for three different things. So, you know, I have students who've applied to 20 programs these days, all for architecture, but I applied to a program for writing. I applied to another program for graphic design, RISD, and I applied to a third program for engineering, which I had no business operating in. But when I went to Rhode Island School of Design, everybody takes the same courses freshman year, and I took an art history course that really changed my life. And I came home at Thanksgiving and told my parents I wanted to be a painter, and they were not delighted, but they, you know, trusted me, and so I ended up switching majors into painting my sophomore year.
Well,
And
that's pretty awesome.
and
That's
yeah,
really
it was an exciting detour. And I think that the detour is one of our most important tools. So
That's awesome. What a journey. So some of your work has been shown at Acapulco Gallery, right? Correct or no?
yeah, I've been lucky to show there a couple of times. And I did a big group exhibition in 2013. The former director and founder of the Opalco, Jim Richard Wilson, had invited me to be not the first artist to show there, but maybe the second show. And I couldn't do it at the time because I was kind of stretched pretty thin. But 10 years went by and Jim said, it's time to do the show. And he told me that he had cancer and that he didn't have much time left. And so I really wanted to honor that invitation. And so, you know, Jim had originally approached me about wanting to architecturally remake the space in some sort of fantastic way, a very physical structure. And I really admired the design of the gallery. It's by a friend of mine,
Yes,
Paul
very nice.
Lewandowski. And I thought, well, this really is a great opportunity, but it's an awfully big space. And the year was 2013, and I happened to look next door at a piece of property owned by Sage, which is the Armory, the New Scotland Armory.
Okay.
And to my delight and surprise, discovered that it was constructed in 1913, which was the year of the famous or infamous Armory show that introduced modern art from Europe to America 100 years earlier. And so I thought, well, I have to do something with this. And so it went from being a solo show to inviting my friend Ken Ragsdale to co-curate with me. And we created an architectural structure for the gallery. We deployed some of the features of the gallery that had never been used, like a 40-foot long sliding wall. And we decided to make a 2013 version of the Armory Show called An Armory Show.
Wow.
And we invited 50 artists to help populate that space. So it was a great experience. And I think, the show happened before Judy was on board as director and
Okay.
Amy. It was, actually, I think, Amy, you were still involved at that point. Is that right?
Come here.
So at any rate, Jim, I don't believe, got to see the show, unfortunately. But we did a beautiful catalog, and we dedicated the show to him, and I really appreciate that initial
That
invitation.
sounds fabulous. What a journey. What a journey.
And just to let you know, Michael, Judy responded that it was epic.
I'm
Well,
sure it was.
Judy herself is fronting for the new epic in the region in terms of ambitious shows, and she and Amy have really, I think, brought the gallery well past where Jim had intended things to go, and realized its full potential. And so it's always great to be affiliated with the Opalka, and I have a personal mission, I guess, of wanting to show at institutions which have a strong educational component. So it means a lot to me that students get to see not only my shows, but Judy's show, and anything that happens.
Awesome.
The teaching institution.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just saying it's a teaching institution. I've really, I always like it when my students can come and see these shows and participate in picking them. And we had a lot of students working on an Armory show.
Awesome. Do you discuss stagecraft in your classes or in your program as a professor at RPI?
I like to think that I can connect to anything on some level. And so I might substitute stagecraft for something like exhibition design or kind of theatrical aspects of installation. So, as the permanent artist in residence at the School of Architecture, I came in just being asked to teach in the first year sequence, which was about drawing and problem solving and collaboration. And, in some ways our curriculum was more varied back then because our students also participated in a product design development course at the same time that they were taking their baby steps into architecture. So because architecture likes to think that it sits at the nexus of things like material science and social policy and aesthetics and the arts and democracy, there's plenty of ways in which we like to connect to other things. So my students, and Alex is one of them, have developed work that was in collaboration with theatrical performers.
Oh, nice.
And playwrights and some of the greatest musicians.
Oh, I'm sure. Have you designed like visuals for stage and film as well?
So I've done art direction on a few independent films over the years. And again, architecture as a major is a way to connect to a lot of things like stage design, like animation and automobile design and product design. And so I think that there's aspects of that to my practice as a teacher. We've certainly visited theater professionals like at MPAC, and spoken with Charles Steckler and other great theater designers in the region and nationally, and Jennifer Tipton, the wonderful Broadway lighting designer. So again, when you have a place like RPI and its MPAC program, and even the great regional museums and galleries, I feel like we're always reaching out to experts in a lot of different fields.
Well,
And
Michael,
so,
we believe you reach a lot of people. We honestly do, because there's plenty of interviews out there of you and all the great work that you do. For instance, like on YouTube and stuff like that. So you're out there. So you're doing great stuff. And all the interviews, I mean, how do you prepare for them? How do you know, how do you, what's your mindset when you go into interviews?
you
And
know, I always think that an interview is a bit of a process of rolling through my memory of experiences, and then really also thinking about things right in the moment. So again, today winds of war are blowing, and it puts me
yeah,
right back to September 11th, and discussing that with my students the day after it happened. But I think of my practice, you mentioned earlier my kind of shorthand description, which is the poetic interpretation of documents. When you spend as much time as I do in archives and in museum collections, and I collect a lot of material culture, I sort of feel that I have this ever-growing mental map of connections between things. So I like being able to, pivot and respond to your questions about particular subjects. On some level, communicating through pictures or video or
okay.
installation is a memory process. I mean, I'm trying to stimulate the memories of my viewers, not to my work, but to their own personal experiences. I mean, I think my job is to make people find a personal connection to the stuff that I'm presenting to them. And I think the best illustration I have of this is a number of years ago, I was given a book, a diary that was found by a former teacher of mine. And he picked it up off the street in New York City because there were stamps in it, and he was a stamp collector. But the stamps weren't that interesting to him, but he thought that I would be interested in this object. And so when I got the diary of Helen Falkey, I opened this book, and it started out with some typeset information, like any book, like an American history book. And it said something along the lines of, if we're going to go on a journey, we first have to take stock of where we are. And we
Hmm.
live in America, the most blessed country in the history of the earth, et cetera, et cetera. Very jingoistic kind of talk. And then after like a sample chapter, and written on the book, it said sample dummy as filed in California. There were a bunch of blank pages, and then in the middle of a blank page, there was a piece of yellow masking tape over a clipping from the newspaper that simply said, "The death was due to poisoning by
Oh,
sodium nembutal." And I flipped through more blank pages in the book, and finally came across a 30-year accounting of every alcohol purchase by this woman of Carstairs Rye. And then in the back of the book, all the way in the back, there was her employment history written out in pen on the back cover of the book. Woolworths, working for a doctor, working at a beauty salon, and then finally another doctor. And then from the back of the book forward, there was her diary account of being obsessed with her doctor and her employer, and
wow.
this kind of love affair that had gone wrong. It's something that I hope to do a project with someday. But my point is this: I would love to be able to hand that book to all my viewers, to everybody, but that's not practical. So what I have to do
That's
is
much.
translate that into materials and architecture and space or video. And to my mind, my job is translation. So even in this interview setting, I'm really interested in the dialogue and in the prompts that you give me that force me to kind of work quickly to make connections.
Awesome. I mean, we really appreciate this insight on what you do and why you do it. And in closing, we're going to read some poetry from one of your favorite poets, Robert Frost. But I just have a couple of questions. Where can we see your work currently? And if someone is interested in supporting you, or getting in collaborative or commissioning or purchasing your work, how can they contact, or what is your contact information? if you could, give it to one of Amy or type it in the chat box or.
Sure. Maybe I'll do that while he's talking.
Awesome.
I'm represented by Ellen Miller Projects in New
Mhm.
York City, in Boston. And, currently on the hunt for the next New York venue. I was represented by Zier Smith for many years in New York, and did some good installation work with them. You can always get in touch with me at Oatman at rpi.edu. And my work isn't anywhere at the moment, but it's coming up at the American Museum Complex in Connecticut. I'm part of a show called Complex Muses, which opens in April. And this is a show curated by Todd Bartell. This was an invitation to 10 artists to come and work with the permanent collections of the museum, and specifically to work with 50 objects that had never been exhibited before.
Wow.
So I've chosen a beautiful ukiyo-e print by Hiroshiga, maybe his most famous print. I was shocked that it had never been exhibited, but I used that as a springboard to make a series of animation cell paintings that go over other prints from that series. So I'm not damaging the prints, but I decided to take summer scenes from the 53 stations of Hiroshiga and turn them into winter scenes as a recognition of climate change. And in that process, I also developed one image from a winter scene, and I turned it into a scorched earth scene to talk about the recent fires in the American West and other kind of drastic weather changes around the world. So I guess I continue to respond to found objects, to collections, to archives, and there are a number of shows coming up in the next few years. So I'm looking forward to sharing that stuff with you when it happens.
Awesome. We're looking forward to seeing it come out. Again, we thank you so much. And we enjoyed that. I know I absolutely did. Wow, you have so much experience and things to share with us. It's just great. And we're going to keep looking for your work. And I'm going to ask Carol to come back on and read one of your favorite poems. I believe it's Fire and Ice by Robert Frost.
And thank you, Sheilah. And I got to say, Carol, I didn't anticipate, a week and a half ago that there'd be a war in Europe, but it's weirdly timely, I guess.
Yeah.
Yes. Fire and Ice by Robert Frost. Some say the world will end in fire. Some say in ice. From what I've tasted of desire, I hold with those who favor fire. But if it had to perish twice, I think I know enough of hate to say that for destruction, ice is also great and would suffice. Thank you.
That was a lovely
Michael,
reading.
I know that you said you had a story about why this is your favorite poem.
Yeah, so several years ago, I was at the funeral of a college friend whose dad passed away, and part of Jamie Scott's eulogy was talking about his father. Jamie is an architect, his father's an engineer, and he was talking about his father's journey into engineering and a story that had been passed on to him by his father. So it turns out that in 1918 or 1919, Robert Frost was at Dartmouth, and his professor, Jamie's grandfather's professor said, "Are you going to the Robert Frost lecture tonight?" And he said, "Well, I have an exam in your class tomorrow. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do that." And the professor said, "Well, it may be worth, doing a little more poorly on my test to go see Robert Frost." And after the reading by Frost, there was a reception, and the engineering professor of Jamie's grandfather went to that reception, And he was surprised that Robert Frost sought him out because he was a professor of thermodynamics. And he specifically asked this professor, how do you think the world will end? And the professor explained that, well, it could happen in a number of ways. And we weren't in 1918, a world war had concluded. So there was newly perceived destructive power. But the professor's answer was that it would likely be in something like entropy, when systems just, begin to kind of shut down. And so several years later, that conversation was reflected in the creation of this poem. So it turns out that Jamie's grandfather didn't go to the lecture. So he missed out on that evening of poetics by Robert Frost, but he did hear the recounting of the question from Frost at the reception afterward. And I always thought that was a beautiful near miss. And to learn the specific origin of a poem is a fascinating thing. So I think that's one of the reasons I love this poem so much. And again, it seems weirdly timely, on the 24th of February, 2022.
Well, thank you for that, Michael. As a poet, I completely appreciate when we can hear the origin story for if it's the actual or, as you said, a near miss, but still, heartfelt because it meant something all the way around, and eventually, unfortunately, at a memorial service for your friend. So thank you so much.
You're welcome. And thank you for those great questions and prompts, Sheilah.
Oh, you're most welcome. Thank you. Most informative.
Thank you. And next up is another fantastic Capital Region person who we get to see her smiling face. It might have taken too long because we know Zoom is sometimes not our friend, but the fantastic, incomparable Recinda Cindy Robinson, you're up.
Hello, can you hear me?
Hi.
Hi,
How
Yes,
are
we
you?
can.
I'm great.
Good to
Hearing-
see you.
You too. Haven't talked to you in a while, but great to hear your voice.
Absolutely, absolutely. We're going to begin with you, Miss Robinson. I'm going to tell the folks a little bit about you. I'm going to read your bio as I see it.
Okay.
Okay, Recinda Robinson. Please call her Cindy. Recinda Cindy Robinson is a professional makeup artist and a fashion stylist who works with several photographers, film and video producers, cosmetic companies, fashion magazines, and advertising and marketing companies across the country. She has been in the fashion, beauty, and cosmetic industries for over 20 years and has worked with some of the world's most famous celebrities, including Mariah Carey, Janet and LaToya Jackson, Robert Plant, Angela Jolie, and Patti LaBelle. Tired of promoting other people's companies and making them rich, she started her own makeup artistry and consulting business and created her very own makeup line. Cheeks by Rez, Beauty for Better Cosmetics. A portion of a purchase of it is donated to a nonprofit organization. So not only do you find something to make you feel more beautiful, you make a contribution to making the world a bit better, too. Their mission is beauty for a better world. A high quality, but very affordable collection of long-wearing natural ingredient lipsticks and gloss shades, customized skin nurturing foundations and concealers designed for women of every hue and skin tone to find the perfect shade from ivory to the deepest ebony to enhance without masking. You know what? Miss Cheeks, I'm gonna let you pick up from there because that's where my print stopped. But it stopped right there. I'm looking to see if there's any more. It is not. But I'm going to say this from what I know personally. It is high quality. It is affordable. And I tell you, my sister, I think what you're doing is just what we need right here, right now, because we come in so many colors and hues, and it's hard to go into these marketing stores and find a product that's made specifically for our skin tones, for our skin types. So I salute you in that, portion of doing what you're doing, and the fact that you contribute to these nonprofit organizations. I just think that's awesome as well. You and Michael, you are all about what this program is about. People who we need to get out there and people who help the public, and we enjoy what you do and we appreciate what you do. So Miss Cindy Robinson,
Yes, ma'am.
yeah, you know what? I'm going to ask you a couple of questions, and I'm
Okay,
going to start with saying to you the same. Happy 2022.
indeed.
It is pandemically crazy, but hey, we're here, and I'm glad to be here, and I'm glad to see all of you. But
That's all
how's
we
the
can
year
do.
going for you so far?
Well, things are good. Can you hear me?
I can. We can hear you just
I just
fine.
wanted to make sure. When 2020 hit and it shut us all down, of course, my business was basically shut down because everyone was wearing masks. We weren't going anywhere. So we got into the habit of who's going to wear makeup, who would wear lipstick. It didn't make me sad. It actually made me actually look at what the cosmetic companies have been doing to women of all ages before the pandemic, was to basically give this false security of, if you buy enough of something in a store, that you will definitely look like what you see on Instagram or Facebook. And what I find that's so terrible is that no one in these pictures look like themselves. And we've gotten so far away from natural beauty. And this is one thing that I actually do. One of the things that I basically specialize in. If someone says, oh, I want to look like this person, they send me a picture that they've seen on, TikTok or wherever. And I said, well, first of all, that person doesn't even look like that. That is all basically done with photography. It's all done with mirrors. It's all done with basically just photoshopping. So let's just look at who you are and let's find the features that make you unique and let's work on that. So that's really one of the things that I really have trying to get women of all ages, whether they be young girls, whether it be 20-year-olds that are trying to emulate, the Kardashians and, all of these hip hop girls, to even women of my age. When you get to your 40s and over and 50s, we become this basic invisible person. It's like, wow, you look great for that age. I don't understand why we now are now to be, shunned as like, oh, well, you're too old to basically represent beauty in America. And what I hate the most is these commercials that they're showing, well, just use this and your skin will look fantastic. Lancome is good for it. And they're using 21-year-old models to sell a product that's for a woman 50 and over.
This is true.
So it's, and it just gets worse every day. But then now the companies are realizing, well, wait a minute, let's go back and let's try to sell the 50 plus women all of these products to say, put this on overnight and you'll turn back time. No, you're not going to turn back anything. You have to.
We all know that's not true. Absolutely.
Exactly.
I think you answered my next 3 questions basically, which was how did you decide, where, when, and how you wanted to do professional makeup, and also why did you become a stylist, which you pretty much covered. And now tell me this, are you local? Are you willing to travel, or?
I do everything. I travel, well, COVID kind of shut that down, but I travel. I basically do films. I worked with HBO, came with Gilded Age and Troy. I've done a couple of different things with them. Film Albany comes in, and we're getting a lot of films coming to this area in
Yes, we
Albany, which is fantastic for the region. And it's great for me because I'm getting business from that as well. So yeah, the Capital District is starting to become like the haven
So
for
Cindy,
these companies.
well, let me ask you this. I know a lot of the times, because I'm in theater as well, and a lot of times we're doing like Zoom interviews now. We're doing Zoom auditions, and they want you to do a certain look.
Mhm.
Do people come to you and say, is it hard for you now that we're doing like a virtual Zoom? Because there's always issue with the Zoom thing. There's lighting issues. Your skin looks a total different
Right.
tone in your glasses. You can't break the glare, and you're like, oh my God, you know what I mean? So I can relate to all that too. Do you find that like an issue for you right now, or are you adjusting to this new norm curve, due to the pandemic?
Well, actually, I have to say that one of the good things about Zoom is when everyone actually had to be home and, really kind of have this thought of, okay, well, what do I look like when I'm on camera, or have an angle. I started basically teaching people how to light themselves,
Hmm.
how to angle their camera, certain things to wear, certain things not to wear, so that they would look different and better when they're on a Zoom call,
I
because
see.
it's very true. It's different when you're sitting across from someone in a meeting.
Absolutely.
You know what you look. But if you're, depending on the lighting, where you are, yeah,
Right.
it is. It actually was actually a little bit profitable for me during the time, that people just didn't like, well, I'm home now. What do I wear? Usually I wear a suit. So just even, redesigning and reorganizing their wardrobes to fit this new norm that we have. So it's kind of a
Absolutely.
casual but professional all at the same time.
This is true. I mean, we've all seen those TikTok commercials where people are at behind their desk doing their work and they forget and they jump up. It's
And they
like, oh,
jump
you're dressed from,
up and they don't have
you know what I
anything.
mean? Yeah. Been there. Haven't done that, but been there.
Oh yeah.
Um, I've also know that you met the late great Andre Leon Talley. Tell us,
Yes.
how was that encounter?
That was actually, I met him, and I don't know if you remember the designer Willie Smith of Willie Wear.
Oh, yes.
Okay, so I was in college. Willie Wear came our to our class to basically, and this is when he was first starting his Willie Wear line. So he came in to talk about his line as a fashion designer, what inspired him, because he was new. It was the baggy look. Really, no one was into that at that time. But I was enthralled just by him alone. And then this tall, wonderfully dressed man comes in, and he was his assistant at that time. He was assistant to Willie, and he was bringing the girls in that had the clothing because there was a fashion show. And I just never forget him, because he always liked to call everybody darling. Come on, darling, we have to do this. Let's do this. We've got to do this. He always had, even though he came from a poor background, you would think that Andre was from like, some wonderful rich
Royalty.
family, overseas, because he had such an attitude and style about him. And I was just so, just, I just looked at him in awe of, yes, now that's fashion. That's what it's supposed to be about. So to this day, I still have a picture with him, Willie, and the autograph, and I have it in scrapbook.
Very nice.
I just
Cindy,
break in here, Cindy and
sure,
Sheila, for a
sure.
second, because I have to comment on the small world department. So I never met Andre, but my college girlfriend interned when she was at RISD with Willie Smith.
Mhm.
And I got to meet Willie, and I had 3 of his suits that she wangled, these really incredibly expensive Indian fabric kind of men's
Yes.
suits.
Mhm.
Sadly, of course, he was an early victim of AIDS, and But I remember meeting him, being a very gracious guy, and I know my girlfriend Lori Drinkwater was so happy to work for him. It was a great start, you know, because as you say, Cindy, he was up and coming. Nobody wanted that stuff for a minute,
Right.
and then suddenly everybody wanted it.
Exactly. And it was just like out of the norm at that time. And he was shy, but personable at the
Oh
same
yeah.
time. And, I was like, oh, I'd love to stay in contact with you. I love your clothing. And he goes, oh, absolutely. And I remember he jotted down, I still have his little business card with his
Oh.
character of his head. And yeah, as you said, when he was dying of AIDS, I actually did get to go and just say hello to him in the hospital. And he wrote down on the piece of paper, thank you for coming to see me. And I
Oh,
also have
beautiful.
that as well. So,
Absolutely.
yeah.
See,
Thanks.
it's such a
Back to you.
thank you both. It's just a small world, and we're all connected in some
Absolutely.
kind of
It's
way.
so right, isn't it? Amazing? Yes.
It's truly amazing. I'm always inspired and just wow. It's great. I love life. I love living. I
It
love what I
is.
Cindy,
do.
Cindy,
It's a wonderful thing.
does this
Yep.
mean that I'm not the only baby boomer in the room?
Oh, no, sir.
Probably not.
Not at all, my
Probably
friend.
not.
You can't see me, but if you did, you would say, "Oh, okay, she doesn't look her age," and then you'd say, "Well, she's doing her job." So,
Well, I was
Cindy,
going to say, I just assumed that everybody was much younger than I am.
well,
no,
thank you
my
for
friend.
that. Cindy,
Yes.
let me tell you, we can see you. We have been seeing you for the last 10 minutes.
Oh, okay, you can now.
Yes, okay. All
Okay,
right.
great.
Excellent. You threw me there for a minute. I said, does she not know if we can see? Yes, we
No,
can.
because I didn't think you can. It's horrible
I
when I.
got you. Yeah, not a problem. Yes, it's a small world. There was
Okay.
another question I wanted to ask you too. Oh, what theater and film shoots have you done in your career?
I've done basically Colored Girls, different versions of that at
Hmm.
different theaters. I've done some off Broadway things.
Hmm.
I've basically worked on quite a few films. It's just like when you have to think about what you've
Yeah.
done.
Yes.
Yes, Mike. Yes, I am old. So
No, that's fine. But we also
and
know
I've
we.
done quite a few videos. Gloria Gaynor, Pink, Tyrese. Work with, like you said, the Jacksons. So it's been a nice ride.
That's all right. That's great. I mean, we need creatives like all of you, both of you actually. And we also know that you are a marketing and a hospitality expert. So, do you do special events or like weddings and prom, stuff like that? Do you do that type of thing as well?
I basically specialize in special events, fundraisers.
Hmm.
I do a couple of weddings here and there, but there's a totally different bride. Brides of today are totally different. They're crazy, and it's
Absolutely.
not good. I do the makeup and then I'm out. I
I
can't
got you.
with someone that the carriages and white horses, and it's like, well, come on, you're getting married. Come on, you can buy a house. So yeah, I do a lot of fundraisers for nonprofits. I work with the
Nice.
Humane Society, where Mr. Franklin came from. You can
Hello,
say
oh,
hello.
hello, Franklin. Okay,
Um,
awesome.
yeah, so I do, and again, that is where my motto of Beauty for Better comes from, because as I said, a percentage of everything that I sell, every makeover that I do, is donated, whether it be to a women's shelter, to Humane Society, Puppies Behind Bars, which is a wonderful program
Okay.
that unites dogs that are going to the pound with
Hmm.
prisoners, and they basically teach the dogs how to basically be a companion for soldiers who have PSD, and things like that. So it's just a fantastic, one of my favorite things that I like to donate to. And of course, the American Heart Association, breast cancer, everything that I basically do is kind of I've been blessed in life, and I feel like it's better to always try to give back. You know, it's how you pay forward is what I think.
Awesome. That's great. That's great. So I'm going to ask you the same thing. If you could just let us know how to get in touch with you or how our audience can, and you can put it down in our chat box or let Jen or, know, and these guys can make sure your information gets loaded so people can get a hold to you if, they want to. I looked on my other note and I found the very last sentence that I was about to read, and I'm going to read it right now, where Cindy felt that concealer is designed for women for every hue and every skin tone to find the perfect shade from ivory to the deepest ebony to enhance without masking her unique beauty, whether she wants a natural look or a bold and daring makeup look. So you just go to Cheeks by Rez. Did I say that right?
It's cheek by
Cheeks
Raz.
by Rez. Beauty for
Yes.
Better Cosmetics. See,
Yeah.
my line's
So
a little blurry, so I just want to just make sure I said it right. Cheek by
no,
Rez. Beauty for
yeah,
Better
and
Cosmetics.
that's the best way. You can go to my website,
Okay.
Cheek by Raz. You can go to my Instagram. My Facebook also has a Cheek by Raz Cosmetics link, so people can contact me in either of those. They have my information, my phone number, my email, and I always respond within less than 24 hours.
Well, thank you so much, Cindy. I mean, we appreciate you.
You.
And I mean,
Thank
you
you.
do some great stuff. And I have checked out your website. And again, I echo all that she has said is very true. We're going to have your poem, your favorite poem, read by Miss Carol Durant as well. And Carol, again, I want to thank you for reading Robert Frost. I mean, that's such an awesome poem. That's one of my favorites as well. And you definitely did justice for it. So we're going to ask you to read Cindy's favorite poem, and it's by Creative Ladies by Carol Durant, and it's in her Cold Press and Just Brewed Poetry, and that's published by the Troy Book Makers, I believe, and it's Creative Ladies 2017.
Thank you, thank you. And I appreciate that Miss Recinda Robinson, Cindy, pal o' mine, picked one of my poems for me to read. So I am going to read my own stuff, people.
Here, here.
Creative ladies, what you have in store is fear no more. Your time to shine has appeared today. No more internal stop and stay. Wringing hands and dry of mouth to drop your vision and resolve the doubt. Inner strength is rising forth and bursting past the negative thoughts. We have each other on the path, ascend like Sherpas towards horizon's peak. Your quest is fueled by goals in reach. With your plan in hand, run the table and bask at last. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Carol.
you. Thank you, Carol. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you again, Michael. Thank you again to Cindy. And thank you, Carol, for asking me to step in. And I'm just going to hand it right on back to you. I have been enlightened, I have been educated, and I feel good all about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheila.
You're most welcome.
Thank you, Sheila. Thank you, Carol.
You're most
And
welcome.
Thank you,
thanks
Cindy.
to all
Thank
of
you,
you.
Michael.
Thanks to all of you, starting with Russell Sage College. You
Absolutely.
all are fabulous. Opelka Gallery, Judy Gilmore and Amy Griffin.
Love
You guys
Opelka.
rock.
Thanks,
Shout
everyone.
out to Professor David Baker. We're giving you positive
Absolutely.
thoughts at Theater Institute at Sage. Our honorees tonight at Stage and Stanza, Mr. Michael Oatman. Thank you, sir, for giving us all of your wisdom and kindness and fun-filled and action-packed things that you've been doing in your career. It's, again, fantastic that I've known you more than a few days, years. And we are not old, ladies and gentlemen. We are a certain vintage. like wine, we have been getting better as the years progress.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
thank you very much to Ms. Cindy Robinson, who, not today because I did not have her makeup on me, but she has made me extra fabulous more times than I can recall. There's a video of me out there in the world if you would like to see her handiwork, because believe me, it
Well,
was very
Amy just
handy.
said she saw you on, she just went to my website, so you can see her on my website and Instagram as well.
Yes, so it's out there if you would like to see the artistry, expertise, and I will say magic of Cindy
It's
Robinson.
fabulous. It's
You
fabulous.
can
Ah,
certainly do
ladies.
that.
Fabulous.
I just enhanced, like I say, I just enhanced.
Right. And there's, people who are in the audience who have been indeed some of her clients, and we all give you the woo shout out. Thank you very much, Cindy.
Woo, 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 woo,
And
woo.
make sure that if you all, Mother's Day is coming, just saying. Birthdays are coming, just saying. A lovely painting or a makeover. Come on, these are two fabulous people. Reach out to them, and congratulations to both of you for being honorees, and we thank you very much. And to our wonderful audience, you guys get a whoop whoop shout out. Thank you again so much for being here with us. Another Stage and Stanza will be happening, hopefully to round out the semester. So stay tuned, sign up, go to Opalka, follow us all, and we'll see you soon. Get your shovels ready.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we don't want to say it, but it's coming.
it
It's
is.
coming.
Be careful out there, stay warm, and we'll see everybody soon.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
You guys are
Bye. Thanks,
fabulous.
guys.
Night,
Great
everyone.
show.
Thank
Thank
you.
you for
Thank you.
pitching in.
Oh, you're welcome.
Woo!
You're
Thank you
welcome.
so much. Thanks, everybody.
Anytime.
See you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.